Death penalty. For or against it, one must come to terms with the sad truth that this is a cruel act and that fire should not be fought with fire. Capital punishment is an inhumane and wrong. There is no reason for any human to be given the authority to take the life of another person, no matter the crime that person has committed. This way of punishment for crimes committed should not be given to the government, nor has it been proven that everyone committing acts punishable in this way are 100% guilty of a crime, and has been found not to decrease the number of murders in our country. The death penalty is a power that we should no longer let our government uphold over its citizens. Capital punishment is wrong and in some ways can be even found unconstitutional. Listland.com explains the 18th Amendment of the United States Constitution states that the use of cruel punishment should be prohibited. Earlier in the article, it speaks of unthinkable acts that are used like torture that our Constitution believes to be unconstitutional. So if we consider the aforementioned methods in the article of torture, cruel, and unusual, the punishment of death must also be considered unconstitutional. In no way should our government have the opportunity to play God in its citizens' hands and lives. Brooklyn Terrell states 23 people were put to death by the U.S. government in 2017. 23 people died because the government believes they had the right to decide when a person should live and when they should die. In fact, not only is this unconstitutional, but we are one of the only developed countries to still practice the act of capital punishment. According to writer Warren Gygax, we are virtually the only developed nation that still employs capital punishment. Despite the fact that our allies have all collectively agreed, the U.S. has spent each year since 1991 among the top 10 countries in terms of numbers of executions. In some cases, people are even wrongfully convicted, whether it be due to racial injustice or other things, even in some cases found innocent after it is too late. It is crazy to think that something as severe as capital punishment can be supported when it is proven to be swayed by racism time and time again. The OdysseyOnline.com explains there have been studies proving that jurors in some states are more likely to convict a black criminal to death penalty over a white one. In addition, criminals who killed a white victim were far more likely to get the death penalty. To prove this point further, the New York Times did a study on this, and their findings showed that people convicted of killing a white man over a colored man were executed at a rate of 17 times greater. There have been many cases where people have spent their life in jail for a crime they were wrongfully accused of. It is unbelievable to think that authority is given to take another's life when we cannot be 100% sure that person has even committed a crime. The Odyssey Online explains they spent life in jail for crimes they did not commit and almost lost their lives as well. Innocent people were strapped into an electric chair, injected with poison, or fired at for crimes they did not commit. Not only is capital punishment wrong and unconstitutional and could murder a person who is possibly innocent, capital punishment has also not changed the number of murders in our country and has instead given its citizens an awful mentality that murder for murder is morally correct. So you would think with capital punishment that it would be doing something for our country, possibly decreasing its numbers of murders, because it would be teaching criminals, if I do this, there's gonna be a price I have to pay, or I could even be sentenced to the death penalty. But that's just not the case that we see in our country. The death penalty has not deterred criminals from committing horrible crimes. EthicalRights.com explains the large majority of experts consider that there is no credible scientific evidence supporting the contention that the death penalty deters criminal behavior. Perhaps the criminal mind doesn't think of consequences or has difficulty computing the risk profiles associated with undertaking a criminal act. The concept of capital punishment puts this idea in citizens' heads that the only way to get even or vengeance is by doing the same their enemy has done to them. This is an awful concept that we shouldn't want to put into our community and our nation's minds. Riley Moore illustrates, why would law permit precisely what it wishes to prevent? So why would our law permit something that we're trying to prevent from happening? In conclusion, the death penalty is an unfair punishment to put upon any human being. Not only does this punishment give our government way too much power over its people, but also it is unethical and has not been proven to decrease the number of murders and unthinkable crimes in our nation. It has even led to the sad death of innocent men and women who were wrongfully convicted. If you think about it this way, if you think your mother or your father or your sister or brother, any family member or close friend was convicted with a crime and was going to be put to death, wouldn't you want them to have a second chance, no matter what that crime they may have committed was? I think that everyone deserves a second chance, and there's no valuable information showing that that death penalty has helped our country in any way. It hasn't decreased its numbers of deaths. So therefore, I rest my case.